Hi, and if you're a regular visitor, welcome back. And today I'm going to be talking tape. Specifically, it's a Horch House tape. I'll show you the box, which are plain boxes, very, very beautiful. I will show you what's inside. If we open this up, it's a really nicely produced, very, very sturdy, solid cardboard box. I'll get into this later. Lovely kind of art paper portfolio containing some information, and then here we are. You can see we've got 2 reels of tape. And the album in question, which you'll still be unaware, unless you've got very good eyesight and could read that label, is, bear with me one moment, the album in question is this, take it out here, which is an absolutely stunning LP. I've had this for 30 odd years, maybe a bit longer. This was recorded in 1965 on the HMV label, and the B-side, Elgar C Pictures, Janet Baker, that was recorded in Abbey Road Studios, 30th of August 65. But the reason anyone I would suggest buys this, I'm absolutely convinced, is for the A-side, Elgar's Cello Concerto, which is just divine. Here played by Jacqueline du Pré, with the London Symphony Orchestra conducted by Sir John Barbirolli. There's extensive sleeve notes here. Now, I've had this LP, as I say, more than 30 years. It's actually a 1972 repressing. You can probably have a look at that. It's in absolutely mint condition, and it sounds fantastic. And for 30 odd years, it's provided with intense degrees of pleasure. I ought to say there's one thing about cello concertos. This isn't, I don't know if I have a favourite cello concerto, but this wasn't the first cello concerto that I got into, and it wasn't the one that got me into cello concertos. And that was, I would think, sometime in the early 80s, I heard Dvorak's cello concerto. Paul Tortelier, I think, was playing cello on that. And it just got me. It absolutely got me. And ever since then, I've been a sucker for them. I find the cello it pulls and tears at your soul. It undoes the knots of everyday life, reaches into your innermost feelings, releases pent-up emotion. You might ask whether that's a good thing. I think it is. It seems to me it is. Dvorak's, Elgar's, there's plenty of them that are just beautiful, beautiful pieces of music. And for me, of the Elgar cello concertos, this is the definitive performance and recording. So, just to give you, to use this as a point of reference, because many of you will have this LP, I believe. I started off listening to this on vinyl, and I sat there with my partner Joe. We listened together, and I just made a few notes. The opening starts off with the solo cello, with some bass and woodwind, very subtly kind of in the background. And straight away you're just aware that it's a stunningly beautiful piece of music. It's mournful and soulful, and then within a few seconds the melody starts quite quiet in the background, but it brings in an element of hope, kind of like a new morning, like a new day, awakening and freshness. But on the vinyl, once you've listened to it on tape, on the vinyl in comparison, there's a very, very subtle sort of sense of distortion and compression and glariness. But nevertheless, the tug of sort of the light and the uplifting energy, pulling against the sort of the mournful, nurturing and of the music. It's a magnificent piece of music. But on the vinyl, as it builds towards the crescendos, of which there are many, it does, in comparison with tape, get a little bit brash and smeared. Now, really, that's all I feel compelled to say about the vinyl. It is such a beautiful piece of music. If you don't have tape, and obviously most of you won't, if you don't have tape, don't let that put you off this. It's a beautiful piece of music. You should just rush out and buy it if you don't already know it. And if you haven't got a record player, if you only play CDs, go and get the CD. I've heard that it's equally, it's equally compelling. You just have to have it. And if you don't play CDs, you just stream. Go on Spotify, Tidal, whatever, find this and give it a listen. It's an incredibly beautiful piece of music. But anyway, we're here to talk about tape. And this becoming available on tape is something very special indeed. Amongst Horch House's catalogue, so far, for me, this is the most compelling purchase. And anyway, so on to the listening. Now, I will mention one thing before I start talking about the listening. Horch House calibrate their machines to it's quite a commonly used practice in the studio industry, in the pro industry. They calibrate to 510 nanowebers a meter. And I calibrate my Studer to 355 nanowebers a meter. Perhaps more commonly is 320. And your sort of typical consumer domestic machines are typically calibrated to 185. Now, it's all kind of relevant, but because this is calibrated at 510, and it's very clearly indicated, this is not a criticism or a slur on Horch House whatsoever. In fact, calibrating machines higher will typically give you better signal to noise ratio, so it can be a very positive thing indeed. But I chose to reduce the playback level of my Studer by 3 dB to compensate for the 3 dB difference between 355 nanowebers and 510 nanowebers, and the effect on the sound was significant. It really did improve things. So it's just important to get this right, and maybe it would have been helpful if they included reference tones at the start of the tape. I mean, it would have been helpful, but it's I don't blame them for not doing so. And I'll put a link below in the description, because I've written an article about this for the Reel to Reel Rambler, which goes into great length about reference fluxivity, what it's all about, and why you should care about it, really. And it's an issue which you'll come across quite often. But anyway, back to the music. Now, compared to the vinyl, the silences between the notes, the silences between every single note, is just, it's so much blacker. And the pitch stability and timing of tape really is second to none. I mean, it's up there with digital, but digital, the CD of this was made from the same master tape that this is a one-to-one copy of. So, this is the source. It's as simple as that. The pitch stability and timing is second to none. And that really significantly changes the way you perceive the music when you listen to it. The feeling of suspense between each note being held, kind of feels like you're being held in a hand of, a nurturing hand between the notes. The whole composition becomes more real, more visceral. And then when the melody comes in, it's more illuminated. It's still, you can hear the finer details. They're still fine, they're still distant, but they're more alive, they're more illuminated. And the tone of the instruments, the cello is far more natural and expressive. The space of the auditorium is very, very real and there. You feel like you're in the Kingsway Hall. You can as the piece progresses, you hear, and you have plucked notes, for instance. You can hear the reflection of those on the back and side walls of the hall. You can feel the space even in the silence between notes. That ambient space is captured in the minute details on tape, which you just don't really get on the other formats. Excuse me, swig of coffee. And as the louder sections cut in, they just do so with incredible dynamic contrast. In fact, all of the colour of all of the instruments is just portrayed far more naturally. Violins, even en masse, the sound just soars. It's never harsh or grating. Woodwind sounds divine, soft, earthy, natural. Brass sounds triumphant, not glaring or glassy. And crescendos and melodies just sound jubilant and alive. And the mournful passages, they're warm, they're caressing, they really kind of hold your heart and allow you to release all the emotion, let go, give you a sense of freedom and peace. And that leads me on to a sort of more overall note, really, about passion, frankly. Passion is not... passion is beautiful, certainly. Passion can be, if you think about passion between lovers, passion between, it is very beautiful, but it's also encompasses tremendous pain, but it's in a beautiful way. And I just love passion. I love music like this that really allows the tears to flow, the soul to be lifted, cutting through emotional and spiritual blockages. And it can occur in all great art and great music. Very much brings to mind actually John Coltrane's "The Love Supreme," which I reviewed just recently. If I do this thing here, I shall hopefully put a link up here. Like Coltrane, Elgar takes you on a journey deep into your soul, and this literally brought tears to my eyes. And I feel I ought to talk more about the sound, but it's so hard. It's just a staggeringly beautiful piece of music, and on tape, everything is so much closer to reality. I had a good friend over recently, and we listened to this tape together, and he said it sounds so very real, like we're sitting on the sofa on the stage of the whole, listening to the live performance with the entire orchestra laid out before us, and just going up as you go away from the stage, which is how it is in the King Lear Hall. And I couldn't agree more. But this friend of mine is a world-renowned classical violinist, a protege of Sir George Solti, and heads up one of the longest-running chamber music ensembles in Britain. And he's a thoroughly committed audiophile, so that really is praise indeed. This guy knows what he's talking about. And my partner Joanna, who sat with me through this listening, she also made some notes, and I feel they're worth including because a fresh perspective can really cut to the chase very succinctly. And what Jo wrote was aching, yearning, longing, heart and stomach sinking to the ground, then rising up, gently tiptoeing back through your body to the brain. You're playing the cello with your eyes, a whirlwind of emotions, happy, sad, elation, your body and soul dancing with the emotion, bringing you right into the moment, every emotion on fire, trembling, beating, all senses alive, the cello pulling and plucking at your heart, contemplative, beating hearts, the orchestra in perfect harmony, softness and lightness of notes to thunderous crescendos. And she wrote, which I totally agree with, funnily, left emotionally drained at the end, but invigorated at the same time, like clearing out your thoughts and starting again. And I totally agree. It's we listened to this, and at the end of side one, literally we had to take a break for half an hour and sort of meditate on it. It's not doing so kind of wouldn't have been doing justice to the experience. It's a magnificent thing, and it's worth giving it every it feel you play that piece of music and you feel you have to honor it if you it really deserves some sort of meditation, some sort of contemplation afterwards. Anyway, now to I know we're not looking at album covers here, but now on to side 2, tape 2, of course, being a master copy. They come on separate reels like this. C pictures. Now, as I've said before, I didn't buy the album for this 30 years ago when I bought it on vinyl. I didn't buy the tape for this either, but nevertheless, it is actually quite nice. The It's made up of 5 songs. It's a song cycle of 5 songs. And it's recorded in Abbey Road Studio, so it's a very different feel. It's a much drier, ambient recording. The sound is kind of tighter in a way because of that, and particularly, I mean, in song number 1, the Sea Slumber song, there's a wonderful depth to the sound. The timpani and basses, they kind of, there's a solidity to them in the studio, which kind of breathes more, if you like, in the Kingsway Hall. But in the studio, it's more solid, and it kind of gives you a real depth, like the depth of the sea, and the darkness of the sea. The darkness of the ambience of the studio kind of also reflects the darkness of the sea. And the soloist Janet Baker's voice is just it's pure, it's piercing, it's gentle, and it kind of rides above the waves. And then the melodies they flow like the waves, and it is a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. Song number 2, In Haven, in brackets Capri, does sound kind of contrast rather than a sort of a nighttime sea, dark sea. This is a sort of a more summery Mediterranean type sea. It's got a lighter feel, and interestingly, this particular song is a love poem written by Elgar's wife. So I think that's kind of interesting. Song 3, Sabbath Morning at Sea, is much darker, more melancholic. Song 4, Where Corals Lie, it's very beautiful, and then Song 5, The Swimmer, is I think it's probably my favourite of these 5 pieces. It's almost like a mini opera. It's far more dramatic than the others. There's a lot more there's more of a story. It feels like there's more going on. It does feel operatic in the way. In the listening experience of it, although I have to say, kind of the palette, the colours and the light that are paint. If you think of the piece as a picture, as a painting, the colour, the palette, the light, in songs 1 and 2 are probably my favourite, I think. So on pure auditory terms, this side 2, it's an absolute treat. But honestly, it's not why I bought this piece. Side 1, Elgar's Cello Concerto, Jacqueline du Pré, Barbirolli. It is absolutely staggering, absolutely priceless. It's an astonishingly beautiful piece of music. And anyway, now, finally, let me get on to just discussing the packaging. So I've shown you this. If I just show you this again, it's a very, very smart, and you can see the edges there. It's a crisp, it's a smart, it's a very nice box. It's kind of got a cloth texture to it. It's very, very nice indeed. And inside, it's sort of embossed in the silver Horch House logo on the front. Inside we have this beautiful cord tied, laced up sort of art portfolio, really. And if I open this up, upside down, if I open this up here, you can see this is where we get to the visual goodies. So printed on professional Fuji color Crystal Archive paper supreme. So absolutely stunning quality, and one-to-one life-size prints of the original album cover. Interestingly enough, if I find my vinyl copy, which is over here, as I said, mine's a 72 repress, for which they dropped the stereo mark up here. So kind of interesting. But it's you get the artwork, the original artwork in staggering quality, and you get the rear cover. And again, these are photographs of the original albums. You can see there you've got the flip back of the original there. So again, really really beautifully presented, really beautifully presented. Funny up here, I mean, just going back to the C pictures, I'll just read you this little passage here. The C song, the first one. Atmosphere is quickly established by the rising and falling string phrases in a nocturnal C picture, full of deep power and splendid calm. The opening lines run. Seabirds are asleep, the world forgets to weep. Sea murmurs her soft slumber song on the shadowy sand of this elfin land. It's it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, we move on. You get a really nice. This is on really beautiful quality kind of textured art paper. Detailed notes about storage and maintenance of your precious master tape. Basically, make sure that you keep it for. Bear in mind, this was it 65 recording. That makes this 57 years old. This copy, well, the master tape that this is a copy of is 57 years old. So tapes last. It's a fallacy to think that they don't. This is a one-to-one copy of a 57-year-old tape. And if you've got this on CD, if you've got this on any other format, it's come from this tape. There is no other source. Not this particular one, the original one, which I'll show you in a moment. Anyway, then we've got another handwritten with serial numbers and the date of the manufacture of this copy. You can see the full specification, CCIR EQ, 15 inch per second, 0.75 separation track, 510 Nabawebers, a meter, 1/4 inch 2-track stereo. Recorded onto Recording the Masters, Studio Master SM468, which is an archival quality Studio Master tape. It's one of my favourite tapes. It's you can't fault it really. Anyway, then this is amongst the things that come with this is I just love these things. There's two of them because there's two original master tapes, of course, one for each recording, made on different dates and different locations, as we've already established. So this is the cello concerto, a photograph of that tape, and you can see here cello concerto, Elgar du Pré, LSO, Barbirolli, Studio KH, Kingsway Hall, duration 29:50, blah 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 blah. Recording engineers, editors, initials, tape number 1 of 2, recording date 19th of August 65, blah blah blah. And then we've got 31st of August 65 editing by DB, whoever he was, I'm not sure, I have to look it up, etc. Made mono copies, 27th of September 65. And you can read down when they've taken, like 28th of September, they've made a, second generation master. The 30th, they made a third generation master, etc. Fourth generation, fifth generation, sixth generation masters. You can see when they made a digital master from this on the 8th of August in 1985. So that would be used for all the early releases on CD. Down here you can see they made a 24-bit master from this on the 2nd of February 04, which would have been used for any subsequent high-def digital, high-resolution digital copies. I mean, it's utterly bloody magnificent. And, you can see the entire life of what's photographed here, of this original master tape. Now, when you look at this and consider this, and then consider this, what you've got in your hand is a copy of this. It is so, you've got here a one-to-one copy of something which was made in 1965, a unique recording of a frankly magical musical happening. I think it's frankly priceless. it blows me away just even thinking about it and listening to it. I mean, there is nothing compares. There is nothing comes close. Again, going back to what Joe said. Back find what Joe said. It was just she listened. We listen to it on vinyl. It's great, but you listen to it on tape, and it's like a euphoric journey. It's your senses are just shaken awake and alive, and you live it. It's an absolute treat, okay. The retail price of this, all this magnificence, is €398, including VAT. Now, yeah, I think that's an absolute bargain. Frankly, I don't know how you could put a price on such a thing. It is a one-to-one copy of that original master that I've just shown you, and if you've got a tape machine that will play it, a 2-track 15 IPS CCIR tape player, honestly, this is an essential purchase. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and if you feel so inclined, do please subscribe. I'm actually when I started this video, I was on 498 subscribers, which is kind of crazy, really, because I started this for just for a laugh, and it's become immensely fun to do, and I know some people really enjoy me sharing my experiences of these things. So do please subscribe, like, and I'll say once again, thank you very, very, very much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.